That's it right there.
All right, y'all. What we're going to do is we're going to pivot now to. Let me stop. This is the longest clap sound effect ever. But we're going to pivot to our kind of topical segments. You know, what's cracking in just the entertainment news, business, music business, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to shift gears a little
Let's
bit.
do it.
All right, so let me get this real quick. So I wanted to pull this up. This was a reel that I saw from Sync Money. And shout out to the crew over there. I haven't met them before, but I love their content and what they're doing. They always have really hot takes on stuff and really educated points. But this was something I came across, and this falls underneath the bucket of just music business news. But he was talking about this golden deal for artists because again, a lot of times artists are like, when it comes to like recording deals or any type of paperwork or agreements, there's typically some hesitation. It's like, all right, we heard people get screwed out of lots of money because they signed bad deals, but they're just kind of kicking it off a little differently with this very, in their opinion, artist friendly structure. So let's talk about this real quick. All right, let me get the little refresh.
I mean, that 85-15 split, label owns your masters. Those deals are pretty much obsolete. I wanted to put you guys onto a type of deal that you may not know about. It's called a minority stake capital investment. Now, when you sell a catalog, you're selling either your copyrights of your publishing or your masters. Typically, you can get 10 to 17x valuations on your catalog. But beyond an outright sale of your catalog, those same companies are starting to do this new kind of joint venture type thing where they participate in future profits without actually taking full ownership of your copyrights. They participate on the net revenue generated by the catalog for X amount of years. This is very similar to the $1 billion deal that The Weeknd just did. People are calling it a catalog sale, but he didn't sell his catalog at all. And I think this is the type of deal that every single independent artist should be shooting for as they go further on in their career. I don't actually believe that you need a label or even radio to get yourself to a point where your catalog is generating you $1 million a year at this point. I think you can do it all independently. And once you get to that point, there are going to be a lot of companies that are going to be open to giving somebody like that 10 to 17 million dollars so that they can participate in the profits for 20, 30 years of that catalog. As long as they see that year over year, your catalog is generating more money or at least stable for 5 to 10 years, then to them, it becomes a safe investment because companies in this space that do catalog deals like this, they have ways to be able to exploit that catalog to make it generate way more money than you can do on your own. So in other words, they know they're going to get that $1 million a year already, but they think that they can add another million on top or 2 million on top every year. Keep this on your radar because I'm working a couple deals just like this right now. And I don't think I've ever seen a more artist first type of deal. Share this with an independent artist who needs to know about it. You old.
Let's go. Shout out to Sync Money again. What's your thoughts around that?
Bro, I think that's fire. I think what that should tell any independent artist watching this right now, the companies see the importance, the asset, the return on investment from your music. They see it, and I think that what he was just describing is exactly how much they see in independent artists and people's catalogs and the importance of understanding the business side of it all.
Yeah.
I think as an independent artist, I think that's huge, to be honest. I mean, the labels are going to have a hard time with that. But the indie artists, you can shine. That's crazy money at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think, I wonder if labels will have a hard time with this because, I mean, if the labels are still participating in copyright, like this, for this strategy, I feel like what's incentivized by it is that you can effectively get a big cash infusion to, your artist, career without having to actually give up ownership is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, which again, if this pertains to whoever owns copyright, so labels potentially could benefit from it.
They could benefit from. Yeah, that's true.
Unless they just, so, and that's why I feel like this is the whole idea of this new indie, kind of angle, with the
Yeah.
podcast is like, what are some ways that feel maybe a step evolved from what we're used to? And this kind of feels like that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of licensing, effectively, because like you're giving them permission to exploit the catalog,
Yeah.
to be able to get multiples above, what they,
Where you're at.
what the
Yeah.
catalog is currently getting. I would love to like almost like talk with him to kind of understand how those deals are structured. And admittedly, this is probably one of those more advanced,
Yeah.
like, and he even mentioned that in there, like as your career is growing, once you get your catalog to a place where it's
Right. The catalog got to
actually,
be there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's of value, I'm like, it's
Yeah.
made at, 6 figures plus, 7 figures, whatever, like where,
Yeah.
and also he was saying it's sustained, it's at minimum sustained or growing year over year to be able to
Yeah.
prove to whoever's investing, like this is a worthwhile investment. I think it's dope, if you can get to that point, because then, you kind of give yourself a bit more of more runway as far as like how you can monetize on it.
100%.
However, he did say like 20 years or something like that, which is a long time.
Which is
So
which
it's
is
like
which is kind of crazy.
this would be a legacy kind of act where I'm like,
Right.
because the shelf life of music nowadays, like you really have to be, with the weekend, it makes sense because he's
Right.
probably one of the top 10 stream
For sure.
artists.
For
So
sure.
it's like, yeah, duh, you know what I mean? But because I like, even for like my catalog, I haven't done a catalog sale yet. I would love to at some point. But I've been a part of songs that have been a part of a catalog sale. And so they sold their shares of the song. I kept my shares. And the interesting thing, I've always been like curious around how they're actually recouping all of the money that they're putting up
Back.
for these things, because at least for what I've seen with, maybe it's like 5 or 6 songs that the shares are now owned by another party. And in my mind, they're incentivized to recoup their costs, but I hadn't seen any like placements or anything
Placements
come
are from it.
from, on the heels of that sale. I've actually brought deals like to them because of how we move, like we had a
Yeah.
Fortnite situation that I brought to them.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was some other brands that we had, I'd pitched my shares, and we have to bring them in to clear
Bring
theirs.
them
But
into yeah.
yeah, so that's this. It's still a little bit of an.
It's still new. It's very new.
It's new in a sense, like it's new for me. I haven't
Yeah.
seen monetization yet from the shares that I own on a catalog, but obviously there's money there somehow because
Yeah.
it's a thing. I know a few
Yeah.
people who have sold for millions. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and they're all doing licensing. You know what I mean? Like I've really
Right.
only seen catalog sales from those who are in the
Also
licensing space, but I
Yeah.
know that's not exclusive to that. But it's a big incentive because there's just a lot of ways to monetize when you're
Yeah.
licensing your music to brands. So
Yeah.
um,
It's encouraging to see. It's for the first time. It's like, all right, it's something that artists can leverage that doesn't seem predatory, and it's a mutual